Hello, this is Max Drake speaking from windy, rainy Wellington at the moment. I just want to talk about this app, GlideApp here, which is a story based on Ministry for Culture and Heritage in New Zealand. They've done a whole lot of stories about if you take a trip up somewhere, up country, Queenstown, ones for Nelson, other information. And there was 140 audio files. So I decided to take that information and go and put it into an app. That means I had to download and get 140 odd links to begin with, just for the audio files alone. I then looked at, I did a video on this and posted it on the community website about downloading information or getting information out of files using the logger.log in the app scripts, and then changing it from JSON to CSV to be able to then paste it into the spreadsheet. Megan Locke very kindly pointed out that I was doing it a hard way, so I suddenly thought, oh dear. And she very kindly gave some of her scripts to share with them. There's this Glide Together number 2 of 20th of May, where if you go in about 24 minutes in, Megan talks about the work that she's doing, and she's moving an awful lot of files around, and I'm very, very impressed by what she is. She's the queen of file movement, I think, and what she's doing with the apps and things is really exciting. So thank you very much indeed, Megan, for sharing that scripts and things like that. Very kind of you. So I've got that script there, and if I just go in and do that script, this one here, it actually has an active script. It asks for a drive folder, and then it'll go in and read the folder. It does basically a loop, and it gets this following information, and depending on the information there's something here, get the range A to E. So she initially had A to F, but I don't have anything on file description, so it'll get the folder, get name, we get file name, file URL, file date created, and file date updated, and then it just appends it to the row. So a very nice script. And if I just go into there, if I just go into there, I've created a new blank file called sheet 15. So there's nothing in there. And in my one here, I've got a whole load of images. Sorry, that one there is not the one that I'm calling. I think I'm calling the image X one here. So if I just run that one through there, and if I just give that one a kick, it just runs the function. I'll post this information underneath. So if we just go into sheet 15, and it's just dropped all of those files into there. Don't seem to be many. I thought, oh, there they go. Now, that's fine. So there's all those links coming through. So that's absolutely brilliant. You know, to actually go and copy and paste all of those links in would take an awful lot of time, and yet that just drops it all in very nicely. So again, thank you very much indeed, Megan, for sharing with everybody. The other thing that I wanted to do when I was actually looking at the app, so this is the app that they've got, and they've had that they created from 2011. They've had 500 plus views. So I think in the way that Google describe them is between 500 and 1,000, and then there's 1,000 plus views, etc., etc. So I didn't think that was many people who were using apps. Now, the reason why I used this, because I hadn't done anything on audio files. So I wanted to do something on audio files just to practice to see how that one worked. And when I actually went together, I actually found there was a whole load of videos. So there's heaps of videos in there. And I thought, oh, that's really cool. And inside the videos as well, there's a lot of the data that I actually wanted. So this was actually in the stories of the items of each particular place. So I thought, well, that's handy. I can get that. It would be nice if I could get that information and put it through there. So inside the app itself, there's an overview, and I've only just focused on trips from Wellington. Like there's, I think, about 14 different trips, and I've only looked at 3. And so if I go into one of the trips themselves, you come into and this shows the overall route. And if you click this takes you to Google Maps with a pin at either end, so that you can see the actual route that it takes. And then if I actually go and take one of, say, Paikakariki, I actually have an image that I've just taken a screenshot of the video. I've got the audio file. I've got a link. Sorry, this is just a link to a point on a map so that you can actually see the actual location on a Google map, just in case you want to see what's nearby. Then there's the video with the story, and then there's the text down below. So it's quite rich. So I've actually had to capture the image. I've got to capture the audio files. I've got to get the map, and I've got to get the video, and I've got to get the video data. So I then wrote another script out here, which sorry, now when I came back to the videos themselves, inside the Ministry of Culture, they had a whole lot of playlists. So I actually only wanted information in certain playlists. And so I wanted this one from New Plymouth to Wellington. I just reversed, and Wellington to Nelson, and from Napier to Wellington, which I reversed as well. Well, I needed some scripts about that. So I went to this person initially, Ashton Fay, and he talks about, he grabs an awful lot of data out of just one video. And he goes through and he's sort of learning the app script, and so it's slow, but he's got the information in there, and I think he shares the spreadsheet as well, so that's quite handy. Then I went to the guru himself, just the man who writes and learns Google spreadsheets, and his one is basically on a search. So he just says put in a search item, say if I'd put in a search and just put in again from the one here, and I put in Napier to Wellington roadside stories, inside, if you just do a straight search, you get 50 results. It'll only give you 50 results. So what happens if one of them is the 51st or something like that? So I had to rewrite the script a little bit so that it would actually go and filter by the playlist itself. And so his one was a general search, which is a really good way, and it captures 50 bits of information. And so this one here, so if I just run this one here, I've created a new blank sheet called 14 just for here, and this is the script here. And if I just get the second one and I give that one a nuke, it's going to take that playlist code. Now the playlist code is, if I click on one of those, that's the first video. Yes. Be quiet before you do that. There's the video in there, and that's the playlist at the end. So that's what it's actually going and reading. So if I now go into there, sheet 14 has got this. Because there's an awful lot of text in one of the cells, it sort of overexpands. So I just grab all the cells and I just go resize and just make them all the standard size. So if I go back, you can then read that. So when I was actually doing the script as well, I suddenly thought, I'll also get some more metadata. So when I was doing the script, I've got some stats on the view count, the like count, the dislike count, and the number of comments. So when you grab that data, I've got the codes, and then I've also got these. Now these two, basically it's the same code, and it's just to make sure this is one query and this is another query, and it's just to make sure that they're both querying the same video. So it's just got a match sitting them through here. So some of those, so whereas the actual app itself only had about 500 views, a lot of these videos have actually had an awful lot more. So that's why I put the option of the actual video in there, because some people, although it's just a bunch of stills inside the video, so they seem to be a more popular way of actually consuming that information. So now the exercise why I'm doing this is because I did a couple of translation apps, and I did a demo for some just little exhibition spaces for a couple of galleries and museums around Wellington to try and see if I could encourage them to use that sort of app. And I got a couple of, one very negative response just saying no, go away, and another one said, well, no, they find that apps are not that popular in museums and things. But I said, you know, if you're a foreign, if English is a foreign tongue to you, you know, surely having some information might be better than having none at all. And they just said, oh no. Then we did a little bit of research, and I looked on things like the Smithsonian, I looked on the London Historic Natural History Museum, and they got apps and very little download. So I thought, well, that's true. They're difficult to download. You download them onto your phone. Who walks into a place and downloads something? And I think this is the power of Glide. So the idea of doing this app is, one, just to see, because I wanted to do audio files and I wanted to capture a lot of information, so there was a learning to do with that. But the other one is that I want to look at using the SMS texting to try and see if people are doing it. So I intend to actually get some stickers and say, for some audio road trip files, you know, text this number and text 100, and then hopefully they'll get a link with that information coming back. So the notion is that I want to look at different ways of people accessing the information, because again, in New Zealand, people are not into QR codes. So I was just, it's really a way of seeing if I can get some information or some proof to say, well, yes, apps are difficult, but only certain ones are. If you can easily access the apps, then, you know, they might be a lot more popular. So it's really trying to get some data to create a case for saying, I can demonstrate that Glide is a far superior way of doing this than a normal standard app of downloading that onto your phone and stuff. So I hope that's been of interest to you. Thank you very much for watching. Again, thank you very much, Megan, for the codes. I really appreciate it. And if you found the video useful, can you please give it a thumbs up? Thank you very much indeed.